Hi, my name is Chia and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do the mid-year book freakout tag. It's a way for me to actually look over all my reading over the past 6 months. Can you believe it's June? It's about to be July. This year is going by so fast. I'm sure a lot of people are already saying that it's going by so fast, but it honestly is. But I wanted to participate in this year because since my channel has been newly created, I wanted to check in with myself and also continue to see how my reading has gone over the past year, and also all of the books that I did and didn't like, all my favorite characters, all the surprising stuff that I actually ended up liking. So far, I've read 30 books this year. That doesn't seem like a lot because my goal is 100 books this year, but at the same time I am trying not to rush to that goal because I know that if I try to force myself to read books just to read books, I'm gonna end up being in a book slump, and I don't want to do that to myself. So I'm honestly not looking at the numbers right now, and like, yeah, getting to 100 would be great by the end of the year, but at the same time I don't want to force myself to do it. But anyways, let's get started. So the first question, oh, and by the way, my iPad's right here, so if I keep looking over there, I'm looking at the questions. First question, best book you've read so far in 2024? I think the best book I've read so far is the sequel to Six of Crows, which is Cricket King. In all honesty, I was kind of hesitant of reading the Six of Crows duology because I read Shadow of Bone by Leigh Bardugo, which takes place in the Grishaverse. But I ended up being 50-50 on Shadow and Bone. The world was great and all the magic system is complex and amazing, but at the same time it was really hard for me to connect to the characters and even care about them. The third book ended up being really good in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, but at the same time I was still hesitant because I didn't know if I would care about the characters as much in Six of Crows. But on a whim, earlier last year I ended up picking up Six of Crows and fell in love with the characters and actually started caring about them. And I thought that Crooked Kingdom was a great conclusion to it. I loved how the characters developed in this. There's adventure, there's heist, and then the characters have such sad backstories. And also there's like a little love story as well. It's not the prominent, it's definitely more fantasy than anything, but at the same time I loved the characters so much more in these two books compared to the Shadow and Bone trilogy. So I highly recommend. Best sequel you've read so far in 2024? Well, that has to go to The Two Twisted Crowns. I loved the writing in this book, and also I loved how it wrapped up in this book as well. I know there was a lot of 50-50 things that people are saying because in this book new POVs were introduced, and also we stopped hearing a lot from certain other POVs. But I honestly like how it concluded in this series, and I also like the POVs that were included and the second love story that was included as well. I thought it was a perfect ending for it, especially with how many characters that was introduced in the first one, and I didn't want just a one-sided character that's only two, because there are multiple people in this universe who are affected by the things that happen in this world. And I ended up thinking that this was a perfect sequel for it, so Two Twisted Crowns was that. Next question, new release that I haven't read yet. Well, it's Funny Story by Emily Henry. I've had this in my library for a few weeks now, maybe a month, and it is on my June TBR, but I kind of deviated from my June TBR, which you'll see in my wrap up. So this might end up being a part of my July TBR because I do still want to read this as a part of the summer book. I do like romance and everything like this during summertime. I just feel like it matches the mood better. So definitely this one that I haven't read yet, that's a new release this year. What is the most anticipated book release for the second half of 2024? The one I'm really looking forward to the most is Reckless, the sequel to Powerless. I want to see how this book ends up being, and I want to check in with the characters of Kai and Peyton. I still can't wait to read the second one, which is coming out next week on July 2nd. So I can't wait to read it, and that's my most anticipated one so far. What is the biggest disappointment of this year? I know this opinion is going to be controversial, but I honestly think House of Flame and Shadow was my biggest disappointment this year. Don't get me wrong, the ending was great, and I loved how certain things wrapped up. It's just that during some of the things that were happening in the book, I felt like the main character's development completely took a nosedive in this book, and also the fact that there's different POVs in here that I did not like hearing from. I thought Therion was annoying. I thought Ethan's POV was annoying. Although I like Ethan's POV way more than Therion's. But yeah, this was definitely disappointing because I also didn't like how Bryce treated the other people in this book also. Because especially the people that she said that she loves. And it's just that I love great book character development. I love seeing them how they were before at the beginning of a series and then see how they are at the end of the series. And to see a character that I love so much take a nosedive the whole entire time, just it was not it for me. So yeah, this was definitely a disappointment. Sorry to all of you guys who did love this. Don't get me wrong, this series is still one of my favorites, but at the same time, this book definitely disappointed me. The biggest surprise this year for me is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Of course, everyone knows what this book is. It's a part of the ACOTAR series. And in case you don't, this is told from Nesta's point of view. She is my least favorite character throughout the whole entire first 4 books. I don't like how she was and also how she treated other characters, especially the ones that she said she cared about, especially how she treated Elaine in this book. I don't like the fact that every single person in this book had trauma, and she made it seem like her trauma was more important than everyone else was. But then I was very, very hesitant reading this book. I finished everything by the 3rd book. Once I got to Aquawar, I was really hesitant on moving on because I knew that how much I disliked Nesta, and I don't know if I would wanted to even have her be given a redeeming character arc. But my friend told me that it's such a good book, and also I know this like the spiciest of all of them, and I was kind of hesitant on that too because I don't like reading books that have too much spice in it because I just feel like it just starts taking away from the story. But I wanted to read it because my friend ended up convincing me to, because she said it was worth it. So I ended up reading it. None of the things that people felt about her were equal to how she felt about herself in her head. She hates herself. She is the most self-loathing person ever, and her POV was so heartbreaking. And it was such a big surprise because I ended up relating to her a lot more than I did. She's a person who's very hurt and very traumatized, and instead of dealing with her feelings or even speaking to other people about her feelings, she lashes out. She pushes people away, she shuts down when people try to help her. I relate to her so much, and that she ended up moving her way up to being one of my favorite characters. So I honestly think this was a redeeming arc for her, and I love Cassian in this book, so definitely this was my biggest surprise of the year. Favorite new author, of course, has to be Emily Henry. She became a favorite after I read Happy Place by her. I love the banter that she writes for her characters, and I'm looking forward to reading more of her books. I actually have Book Lovers and also Beach Read, and I forget what else that I picked up for hers, but I want to read that too, along with Funny Story. A new fictional crush that I have has to be Luther from the Kindred's Curse saga. I did not realize how much that I ended up liking him until the 2nd book, because I liked the fact that he was so supportive of the main character, how he treated her, and also he reminded me of Zaynallah from 4th Wing, because he's so supportive of her and everything. So yeah, he's my new fictional crush. Books that made me cry this year definitely has to go to Kingdom of Ash. I ended up finishing the whole entire Throne of Glass series this year. I ended up going to maybe Assassin's Blade by the end of the year, and then ended up finishing the rest of the series this year in January and February, I think. This book made me ugly cry so much. The attachment I got to these characters, the situations that happened, the events, it made it, when I was sobbing, like it made it seem like it happened in actual real life. So Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. So yes, definitely for sure, this book made me cry so much. Next question, a book that made me really happy. That definitely has to go to Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I love the tension in this series. I love the will they, won't they in this series. Yeah, is this book revolutionary? Definitely not. Is it different from all the other fantasy books that I've ever read or anything like that? Definitely not. As I've told before in my wrap up, I love enemies to lovers. It's my favorite trope, and they are definitely, I don't necessarily want to say that they're enemies to lovers, but the way the cliffhanger was, I just can't wait till Reckless comes out. So yes, it's not the best book ever, but at the same time, it made me so giddy and made the butterflies and kick your feet kind of feeling. So if a book gives me that feeling, then it's definitely top. Favorite book to movie adaptation this year? I have yet to see a good book to movie adaptation since the Harry Potter series, and I heard the Lord of the Rings movies are good adaptations as well. I've watched the movies of Lord of the Rings, but I have yet to read the books, so I'm not too sure if it is a good book to movie adaptation. But I do like Lord of the Rings. And I also want to try to watch The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes this year because I heard that one is really good too, but I want to read the book first before I watch the movie. Next question, most beautiful book I've bought this year. That definitely has to go to the copy I found of the French edition of Fourth Wing. I saw this on Rebecca Yaros's Instagram and I automatically looked at it and said, oh my god, it's beautiful, but at the same time it's probably another copy that I'm not going to get my hands on. So I gave up on it, and then I was reading on Reddit that somebody said that they were able to get a copy or pre-order a copy from Indigo in Canada. So I decided to try my luck and ended up getting it. So it's black and white. It's all in French, obviously. Look at the art of the, oh my god, and then Violet and Andarna. And if you look at the pages, and then right here, there's Xaden and Sagail. And then if you look at the cover, the book cover, oh my god, look how pretty that is. And then the back. So I've heard that like it is like not the best translation ever, and I would probably not go to this book to learn French. So I heard the translation's not that good, but is it gonna look pretty on my shelf? Absolutely. And last question, what books do I want to read by the end of the year? I definitely for sure want to read the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. I heard that's a good intro into the Cosmere. And I've been looking into that to see how many books I have to read in the Cosmere, and there's a lot. But I heard Mistborn is a great one to start off with, and I've been hearing so many great things about Brandon Sanderson's work, so I wanted to give it a try. The next book that I want to end up reading this year is the Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia books. I have both of them, but I have yet to read any of those books. I want to be able to finish both those books before the third one comes out in February 2025. I don't know if that's the last book. I think it is because I heard it's probably just a trilogy, but I want to make sure to be caught up on those, and I've heard nothing but great things about the Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia books. That's some of the books I do want to read before the end of this year, and of course the Lord of the Rings series. Thank you again for watching my video and listening to my rants about books constantly. I will list the questions in the description, so if you guys want to answer any of them in a video or if you want to answer them in the comments, please feel free. And thank you again for watching. See you next time. Bye!